Giannotta joins us from Tbilisi. She's a Middle East European Affairs analyst and the director of CeSPI Observatory in Turkiye. Thank you so much for coming on the NewsHour. So we're hearing these millions of Syrians displaced abroad. For many, it might be a difficult decision about whether to return home or not. What kind of things will be going through the minds of people? What will they be weighing up when they decide whether to return home?
Well, we need to differentiate, I do believe. There are many Syrians who are ready to go home, as we see what's happening at the Turkish border, because they want to get reunited with the family. They have been separated for so long. And they are just, investing a lot in going back because they have been suffering. While there are some other Syrians that they are located more in the European Union countries, that they are still waiting and see because they fear. And also the number of pending asylum application recently in the area, in the Schengen area, has dramatically increased. I think the estimate is around 14% of the asylum application have been increased in the most recent time. But definitely we should also consider that there is a new generation of Syrians that was born in Turkey, in some other European countries, that they feel attached to those lands because they started to have education, they started as well to build up their own friends and family connections. So I think we are living in a very emotional time, and definitely the reasons, there is the will and the celebration to go back to Syria after the fall of Assad, but there are also some question marks related to economic stability, related as well to the transition that the country is facing. It will be a very peculiar time for the Syrians in Syria.
And I know you mentioned this suspension of processing asylum applications by EU and other European countries. Why have they taken that decision, and what will the impact be for those Syrians who are waiting on the outcome of applications to be processed, or extensions, for example, to be processed?
I think most of the European countries, they are referred to Germany, to Italy, to Austria, to Netherlands, to Greece, for example. They are just playing a sort of political opportunism approach. In those countries recently, we have experienced a rise of the center and far-right groups that they are pretty much anti-migrants. And some of the countries are also going towards election, where the far-right groups are emerging. Therefore, I think they're trying to keep the balance for domestic issues, as well as some of them, they perceive that after Assad, the problem in Syria is solved. Therefore, they believe that the first problem was Assad. Once Assad fell down, left the country, the situation can be most stabilized. I do believe that we have also to consider this from another perspective. For example, for a long time, in the most recent times, some European countries as well opened the embassies in Syria because despite the Assad regime, they believed that the situation was pretty much under control. I think we are living in this hectic situation right now, but definitely there are some political consideration and some political opportunities when we look from the European perspective.
And you mentioned, of course, that some people will have seen Assad and his repressive regime as being the reason that they left. Can then they rely on guarantees by this new emerging administration that they will be safe when they go back to Syria?
Well, definitely we have seen that most of the people returning to Syria, willing to return to Syria, they were the ones suffering most from Assad regime, and they were forced to flee the country. I refer to the ones in Turkey, for example. Most of the Syrians in Turkey, almost more than 1 million of Syrians in Turkey are located mainly in the Turkish border, in Gaziantep and the neighboring cities, basically. They are the ones that they want to come back because they flew the country when the Assad regime, backed by Iran and Russia, attacked Aleppo and Homs, definitely. definitely. So they feel that nowadays there is a new atmosphere, at least in their original homeland, in their original city, and they feel to some extent safe. For some other people, of course, there is, as I mentioned, the question mark related to the transition, related to the guarantees. And they are most, I believe, the Syrians who have been suffering a lot from Assad, that they were already, in a very bad situation, then they were able to go back to shelter countries, and now they need emotionally and psychologically to have some guarantee in order to go back, in order to face a reality providing a condition of security, safety, and development as well.
I think we can understand that. Valeria Giannotta, thank you so much for joining us on the NewsHour.
To you. Thank you.